Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And this is a shout out to Hetty. And she sent me this information, which is very interesting. Thanks, Hetty. And it is as follows. It is a month since the 6th general election in South Africa after the 1994 capitulation to a one-man, one-vote socialist dispensation, leaving the minorities in South Africa to a disastrous fate of racial discrimination and a struggle for survival in a harsh, crime-ridden, murderous and corrupt society. And no one can dispute that. And when we talk about racist, BEE and triple BEE, and here you've got Ace Magashule speaking on behalf of the ANC in the last few days, saying that racism no longer exists in South Africa. Well, I've got a word for you, Ace, and that is, and I've never done this to you before, but now it's going to happen. Live with it. Pogmahon. Arsehole. Absolutely disgusting. Over this period of 30 days, 51 farm attacks have been reported. Farm attacks in the Western Cape doubled in the first 6 months of 2019 compared to the corresponding period last year. Just before the election, President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed a group of farmers on the Beyeskloof estate near Stellenbosch, that's in the Western Cape, and promised them that the policy of expropriation without compensation would not affect their lives. Some of them hailed him as the anointed leader of South Africa. In that meeting also sat Mr. Stefan Smit of Loisenhof, a neighbouring estate. He was brutally shot dead in the dining room of his house in front of his family and guests last Sunday evening. I mean, this is how tragic this whole thing is. You got these ANC friggin' leaders who are lying to their electorate. It is just disgusting. This is the same Ramaphosa who allegedly said that white people in South Africa should be gradually given the frog in a pot of boiling water treatment, a little heat at a time without the frog noticing what is happening to him until he dies in the pot. So what does Mr. Ramaphosa have to say about the farm murders? Nothing. Ramaphosa is saying nothing. He's the guy who denied they even exist. Remember that famous press conference where he said, there are no white farm murders, despite the fact he knew several white farmers had been murdered since 1994. He is just a piece of shit. And you know what? Cyril Ramaphosa, you can friggin' Pogmahon as well, okay? Asshole. Nothing at all, in spite of urgent calls from the agricultural community on the president to address the issues. Khosile Diko, presidential spokesperson, yesterday stated that the president will not make any statement on specified crimes. Pity that he did not tell Stefan Smit that at the Beyeskloof meeting. Or was he looking at his audience thinking to himself, look at the frogs in the pot, bubbling away, just waiting for them to just go away. Only he would know the answer to that, yeah. And Ramaphosa, Hippo Eyes is a piece of shit. And if YouTube take objection to that, well, you know where to stick that, don't you? My God, YouTube has just gone feral. We are often asked here at Front National to write articles on farm attacks and related matters in English, so that the world can take note. If by now the world hasn't taken note of the situation, it is doubtful that another article will change their minds. In actual fact, It was pointed out in no uncertain terms to us during a phone conversation on 13th of May when we spoke to one of our contact people in a sympathetic Eastern European government, calling on them once more to recognize our demands for self-determination. His words, verbally quoted, were, "We are not ignorant of what is happening to you, and we are more than prepared to recognize your right to self-determination and to defend your sovereignty as a nation of Afrikaners. Unfortunately, it seems that you don't want that yourself. We also had monitors at your election, and we took note of your call on the voters to cast a vote for independence, self-determination, and the reinstallment of your commandos to protect and defend the farmers. The white voters rather opted for either staying at home and not casting a vote to show their objection at all, or voting for parties openly stating that they wish to remain part of the current political dispensation in South Africa. I cannot waste my government's time with this. If you don't come to the party yourself, so, in conclusion, I will do what I can for you, but it is in your hands, and you are not doing much to convince the world that you are facing a crisis. I'm sorry, that is how it is." And he says, how can we dispute this? For the fact of the matter is, it is not the world that needs to wake up. It is a white man in South Africa that needs to wake up. They need to work together. And that's what this channel is trying to get all these disparate groups like ULA, USAF, Saitlanders, Boeralition, groups like that to work under one umbrella with a common cause. And look, I'm setting up the parameters for that, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to make this happen. Now, tonight at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we're going to be talking to the leader of Dexter, which is a big nationwide prepping group, and we're hoping to bring him on board to actually start getting this all happening. Okay, guys? Now, let me get back to what's happening here. So what remains? Front National can only call on our people to urgently, because even more safety conscious, join organizations where you can be trained in self-defense. Do whatever you can to defend yourself, your property and your family. The world is not going to step in and do anything for us before we give them proof that we are prepared to do something ourselves. The government and the institutions won't do anything more than the minimum expected of them, and the Frog Prince won't even release a statement of condemnation. You know the Frog Princes, don't you? Hippo eyes. There is not a single party in Parliament who can or will do anything towards complete self-determination and protection of our rural agricultural areas. I actually dispute that comment, because I think the Freedom Front Plus is right on the money. I have to tell you, following my conversation, and I had 3 hours with Wynand Boshoff, and I'm hoping to speak to Peter Groenewald in the future. I think these guys are the future. I really do. I think this is something that people are going to watch very closely. Anyway, this guy goes on to say they will use free, taxpayer-funded international flights to go and address skeleton committees, meetings of the European Parliament, usually when the European Parliament is not in session, but when coincidentally it is holiday season in Europe, and then make propaganda out of that. Yeah, that sounds about right. The brutal truth is this: we cannot carry on like this for another 5 years. At the rate we are being murdered and our young generations is leaving the country, we face a somewhat slower but exactly similar fate to the Jews of Europe before 1939. And that is so on the money. This is a genocide. Unless we take responsibility and become involved in our fate, the outcome for the Afrikaner will be nothing different: death and diaspora. Maybe the world will take note when it's too late. Maybe not even then. And then he goes on to say, from Anthony Kruger, 57 murders a day now. What the president doesn't realize is that every single murder has huge financial consequences for the economy. My mother, at age 74, was murdered on my sister's property. At least 200 families lost jobs as a consequence. How would murder of one elderly woman have the effect, you'd ask? My sister and her husband shut down their textile factory and emigrated. Their brother-in-law shut down his shoe factory and emigrated to Kentucky. My sister's brother-in-law is an eminent neurosurgeon and professor of neurology. They also closed their practice and emigrated. The USA is delighted to have them there. I also sold my transport company, and this has subsequently gone under as the new owners had the money but not the experience. Any development in our food ingredient business has been outside South Africa. With so many BEE restrictions, my wife's business can't expand. So she is also thinking of closing it down, and if our plan goes ahead, we'll retire in Spain. If South Africa has a normal country, we'd all be living here. We and our employees would be comfortable and flourishing. And we ask, why is unemployment at record levels? With 55, it's actually close to 58 murders per day. The reasons aren't surprising. All right, guys, look, we know things are totally pear-shaped in South Africa, and you know this channel is rooting for all those people in South Africa. Please remember, tonight at 8 p.m., we'll be talking to Dexter, a prepping group, and it's free of charge, and you get a lot of stuff. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. And don't forget, this Sunday night at 8 p.m., Johannesburg time, we'll be talking to this mysterious character who's doing an enormous amount in the background. And we'll be discussing other issues which have come up on YouTube at the same time. But I'm not going to go into details at this stage. All right, guys, have a great day, and make sure you ring the bell when you subscribe. Bye for now.